So can you tell us more about the project that you did during your internship and what you're working on currently?
Yeah. So my team is a little bit different than the teams that exist at the company. I work on Uber's incubation lab, which is basically it's a if you easily put, it's a startup within a bigger company. So what we do is basically we take on projects that other teams want to test and kind of try if it'll work as a solution. And sometimes we come up with our own ideas and we test it and prototype it in the life cycle of like 12 to 16 weeks. And then we'll test it out in a pocket of users in one certain area. And if it works, then we'll scale it out to the rest of the company or the rest of the org that it's a part of, and if it doesn't, then it's fine. It was just a trial anyway. um and so I am lucky because I get to work across most of the business verticals. I'm currently working on something for Eats, but over my internship I was working on a project for Driver. We were working on launching virtual driver support into like Uber's ecosystem. And so the idea was that we wanted to reduce the number of people that were physically working at every single Uber Greenlight hub, which is where drivers go to get support. Um, and by doing so, we would save the company a lot of money because they would have to pay less people to occupy these spaces, and we replace them with like virtual kiosks basically,
Can you share that
and where
project?
drivers, yeah, it was where so drivers can kind of like walk up to a kiosk and get their questions answered on virtual support. um, and so that was my internship project. um, and so basically, let me see if I can find a picture of the kiosk. This is a very first trial of what a kiosk would look like. And the idea was that there's an iPad in front of you, and then there's the virtual screen on top. And this is a driver currently who's talking to one of our Uber support specialists. And so the thing that was really exciting about this project was that it was obviously my first project in a bigger kind of environment and in a more corporate space. And so I was able to actually understand what it meant to measure success, define success, and kind of see how your designs matched up against the success, and also test my designs out, because you never actually get to test your designs out when you're doing it in kind of more of an idealistic space. And so I was working on the check-in queue for this Greenlight hub. So the idea is that like someone comes and to they walk up to the Greenlight hub, a driver checks in, they fill out all this information, and then they go sit down and they see a screen, which is like, it's, these are like iterations, but like this is basically like what the screen looked like at the end. Um, and when their name is called up, when their name is called up, they go and sit at the kiosk. And so in our heads, when we did this, we thought that this would be very simple, people would understand it, everything would be great, and like project is over. We actually realized once we launched this for the first time that people were having a lot of issues understanding what this queue meant. And not only that, they were not understanding the word queue. They didn't understand what it, like, that's not a word that they used very frequently. So they just didn't get it. And since there were no numbers here, or like there was no time, they didn't know why two names were being showed. And so there were a lot of issues that we kind of had to deal with after that. But it was really exciting for me because I actually got to see some real user feedback, and so
Yeah.
that was the coolest part. But so this is like kind of a mini project that I did during my 12 weeks at the company. And so it was a start into this entire like the Uber space. My team has since moved on from Driver. We did some stuff for Driver, and now I'm working on something for Eats. Um, I can tell you a little bit about it because it's actually launched
Sure.
into the public in some ways.
Yeah.
But so for the Eats app, I worked on a waitlist app, which basically, if anyone has used Yelp waitlist, it's kind of similar in that sense. But the idea is that because Eats already has a strong user base, it'll eventually be able to integrate into the Eats app or the Rider app, so that people can put themselves on the wait list while they're on their way to the restaurant or something like that. And so I worked on the waitlist app, which I unfortunately can't share because it's still kind of being deployed.
Yeah.
But I was doing that, and now we're working in the current time that we're in, and with everything going on, we're working on a way to do like contactless delivery, but try and like scale it out to not just be left at your door. We're trying to do something that is more with we're trying to make it such that people can order from a shared device, and put them in office spaces, put them in hotels, dorms, college areas, just like a shared device that people can order from. Or if you're not, if you don't have an Uber account, if you're not an Uber user and you still want to order on Eats, there's a device that people can order off of. So we're kind of looking at the space of like shared computing and how that works, given the way that things are moving currently. And so that's kind of what we're working on now.
Great.